Welcome back to the session. Fine. So before we went to the break, we have been discussed about the few things about your Spring with web layer, how we are working, and in MVC architecture. Now we are also discussed about the controller based. What is a controller is all about, and how we have implemented the controller. That's a few things what we have been discussed. Okay, in the Spring web layer also we have been discussed. So we know that we require a URL mapping. Okay, the different kind of your URL mapping also we can use, and then we can go for the different type of your controllers which we can use. The controllers, it can be one of that. Okay, that is throwaway controller, or it can be simple form controller, abstract controller. Okay, so all these are the different type of your controller we can use, and then the controller will use the appropriate service class, that is nothing but a model class which will use, and we may create our own controller also. That is also can be possible by using the existing controller classes, and we can return the your actual view, the model view object also we can return, and it have which need to be rendered to the user. So that are the few things what we have been discussed so far. Now today we are going to discuss about we are going to discuss about how we can render that particular page. What is the way by which I can render that web pages in my application? That's we are going to discuss now. Let's see that how we could create that rendering the response to the applications. That is what we are going to see. So let me start with that. So we are going to learn about how to render a response to the client, that we'll see. So rendering the responses. We have already discussed about how the view controller which is there, no? That is what the first demo, where we have seen that the view then which is going to the controller, it is going to the view resolver, and then it is displaying the data. That is a simple one which we have seen. The first page, first demo is that only. But only thing is that there we have not created our own controller, which is we are using the existing controller. Now to render the response on the user's browser screen, a view such as Jsfhs is used. The name of the Jsfhs page is determined by the controller from the logical view returned by the model and view object which is going to return by that. So to enable the Spring MVC framework in locating the appropriate Jsfhs page, you need to declare the view resolver bean in the dispatcher servlet configuration file. This is what it has been done. If you remember, if you see when we have created, there are three things are there. One is that URL mapping was there. One is index controller, which is acting as a controller. Third one is nothing but the view resolver. The view resolver bean, these are the three beans are there. URL mapping bean which is there. We have index controller bean which was there, and one is that view resolver bean also it is there. These are the three different type of your bean which you can be implemented here. Now when we are using this bean, the first URL mapping bean, which you know that whenever there is any kind of your request, accordingly the what type of controller we need to use, that we can be specified by the URL mapping. And here, because we are using the simple URL handler mapping, so accordingly the controller it is going to be displayed. And here we have created our own controller. So here we have created the existing controller. So the controller, it is nothing but your parameterizable view controller which we are using, and the view name which we are using, that is nothing but your index. Now the view which is going to be resolved by the view resolver, and the existing view resolver which you are using, that is nothing but your internal resource view resolver is the one which is already existing, and the prefix of that particular page will be webinf/Jsfhs, and the extension of that page which will be .jsp is the page which you are implementing to. These are the kind of things which you are going through in the view resolver, bean ID which you can be implemented over there. So these are the three things what you need to remember as part of your MVC when you are implementing. First it will be URL mapping, then it will go to the controller. From controller it will go to the view resolver also. Now to enable the Spring MVC framework in locating the appropriate JSP page, you need to declare the view resolver bean in the dispatcher servlet configuration, and this is what we have seen, how the view resolver bean will be there. So the responsibility of the view resolver bean is to take the logical view named model view object, make the logical view name view defined by the JSP page, and to render the response to the client, the following step need to be performed. One is that we have to declare the view resolver. We need to create a JSP page. And Spring used an interface called as view, which is responsible for handling over the requested. So this is the model view page. So we need to declare the view resolver, and how to create a JSP page, let us will see. Declaring the view resolver, Spring uses the view resolver to resolve the logical view names, and which will go for the first dispatcher. Then it will get the controller. You have to call the controller and get the controller. From the controller we'll get the model view object. Once we'll get the model view object, we'll go for the view name, and view name will be providing, that is index or anything, and the view resolver will provide the actual view with a suffixing with a .jsp or whatever that we have mentioned here in the view resolver. Accordingly it will display the view, and that view which can be rendered to the user. That is what exactly which is going to happen. This image, have you understood now? This image is very, very important. Here we can know that how exactly the process flow happens in your Spring based application when you are implementing. So how it goes. Any request, when it will come, first it will hit to the dispatcher servlet. The dispatcher servlet in turn it will check in the URL mapping that which particular controller which has to go, and then the controller then whatever the controller it is there, it will go to that particular controller. Controller will execute the service, maybe the model, and then it will return the model and the view object, and that model and view object it will return a view. So that view name it will be passed to the view resolver. View resolver will give you the actual view name, and that view it has to be rendered to the user, end user. So this is the way how it will happen, the declaring the view resolver, which in this case. So there are different type of your view resolvers which are available for you. Like we have internal resource view resolver, bean name view resolver, we have resource bundle view resolver, and XML view resolver. These are the existing view resolver which are there. So you can either use the resolver implementation provided by the Spring, or write your own custom view resolver also. You can see that I can use this resolver, or else I may create my own view resolver and I can implement also. That is also can be possible. But here, by the way, we are using this particular internal view resolver, and by which we are associating that view and rendering that to the client also. So this is one of that. That is internal view resolver which we have seen already. In the code, that is the view resolver which is there, and which is using the internal view resolver. Similarly, so that is all about a simple implementation about the view resolver which we have been discussed. Now the next part, which is nothing but you're creating a view. So view resolver will give the view. So now you need to create a view. So you need to create a view that render the page to the URL. So you need to, view should not, so you need to communicate with the Spring Bean or provides a custom tag library. So you can create a Spring library and you can create a view. And you can use also Spring :bind or Spring :nested path are the commands which we can use, and you can create a sample view also can be created for you. Spring bind is a tag which is used to bind a bean property with the form component, and contains an attribute named path to specify the path of the bean. For example, this is the path which we need to be specified. This is the text. This is your text field which will be bind to the Spring :bind. This is a method which has been provided you. This is a tag which has been provided for you to implement the view tags. So this is a sample example of a Spring bind tag which is binding to the input text field. Similarly, we have nested path is also a command for which we can create a view, which will enable the path, the prefix of the path attribute string:bind tag. This is done from complete the path. So string:bind tag is used the nested path also. So here you can say string nested path as a student, path is student, bind with the name, and this is what your input text field it has been bound. Like that, okay, there is string bind path is equal to age and nested path. So nested path can have multiple string bind commands also, and using that we can also create a sample view page. Okay, when you are implementing the UI component also can be integrated with that. So that is exactly we talk about your view. So this is rendering the response. So you can have the view pages which can be rendered to your application. So that's a part which we have been discussed here. So that are all your problem statement and all. So this is the way you can create a sample program for creating a view page, and that which is can be rendered to the user also. So this is the few things what we have been implemented so far in your MVC, in your MVC based implementation when you are doing. So that time we can use this. Student is a normal Java class. Yes, student. Where we are talking about the student. Status. It is a path. It is not the your class or anything. Okay, so student.name, which has been the class. Okay, then we can specify that the property how it can be implemented also. Alright, so this is where you can create a view and we can implement the view in our as a Spring-based framework and you are implementing. So you can use this. So you can integrate the Spring with a web layer and you can do this. Okay, so a sample controller and the view page which we can implement also. See, this is, we can create a view page. It is not that, okay, we have to view page compulsorily, we have to use this, okay, creating the view tags and all. It is not mandatory. The view page can be any JSP page also you can implement. But however, if you want to create a view page, okay, with a view tag and if we want to implement, then we have to use this string:bind. This is an extra which can help you to, okay, bean properties displaying purpose only. But it is not mandatory that, okay, you have to use this particular property compulsorily. You can also make use of the JSP and display it. But however, if you want to display in that JSP some of the properties or the bean properties if you want to display, in that case, okay, we can go for the string:bind and string:nested path are the commands which we can use by which we can display the values also. That's a few things what we can talk about. Alright. This is only to display the bean property values in your JSP pages. If you want to display, then we can go for this. Alright. Any questions? Any questions here? Alright, that is a sample example which we have created, sample thing which we have been discussed about your view. Okay, then you have controller and the view resolver. But however, we can also create our own controller also. If you want to create, we can create that. That is also can be possible. So please remember that, okay, how we can create, okay, our own controller, or if we want to use the existing controller, we have already seen that, okay, how to use the existing controller and the view resolver. For a simple based application, if I want to create, we can use that. Fine. So this is the part which we are discussed, okay, till now. That is nothing but, you can say that, okay, we have discussed about the chapter 3, and in the chapter 3 we are discussing about the simple, okay, your URL mapping. We have discussed about the URL mapping. We have discussed about the different type of your controller, the existing controller and the custom control, how to create, that we have been discussed. And we can have the view resolver is also there, okay, which is going to resolve the view pages. And okay, how to create the view, that is JSP pages, and there if you want to access the beam component of your Spring, we can use that. That is what we can have. We'll check that, okay, from Janagar. So now this is all about the few things what we have been discussed here. Now we'll have, okay, we'll be moving to the next part, that is very, very important part which is there, which is okay, somewhat different, okay, in your Spring. That is all about your implementing AOP. Implementing AOP, which is nothing but, okay, that is aspect-oriented programming, how to develop, okay, that we are going to discuss actually. That is, okay, the part what I am going to discuss now. So what is an AOP and implementing the AOP, that we are going to see. Let me start with that. We are going to see the demo of AOP. Okay, so let me go with the AOP concept, then we'll see a small demo about AOP also. Okay. So exploring the AOP, implementing the AOP concept. Let us will see that. Let me show next. Okay, so in this session we are going to learn about explore the AOP and implementing the AOP. Okay, that we are going to discuss now. Several services such as login, security and transaction management are not the part of the primary business logic. So see that, okay, in AOP when you are talking about several services such as login, security and transaction management are not the part of the primary business logic of the application. And these services are the essential for the web application, required to be implemented in every module of the application and considered as a cross-cutting concerns as they cut across multiple modules of the application. So these are the services are also called as a cross-cutting concerns actually. And you can see that, okay, like courier service, student service and miscellaneous other services of a particular application if it is there. For every service, whenever we are doing, okay, we'll have certain cross-cutting concerns which will come. There is nothing but the transactions, logging, and security services are the cross-cutting concerns which will be there continuously. So every service when you are running also, you will be running these particular services also. Something like that, okay, your filter, yes, we can say. But at the same time, but you need to know that, okay, these particular services when they are running, so these are the different type of your services which has to backgroundly it has to run. But now we want to separate it. I don't want, okay, that it has to be mingled with these main services which has to be, okay, it has to run in a separately. So that time, okay, I can use this AOP. Okay, so AOP will be used for implementing these services. If I want to separately, if you want to be implemented, then we can go for that. Either you talk about the logging services, we talk about the transaction services, we talk about the security services, that particular things which can be implemented in the AOP. Spring provides aspect-oriented programming, AOP, to simplify the program structure. AOP solves the problem of cross-cutting concerns. The secondary concerns or the cross-cutting concerns which are there need to be considered as an aspect. All these cross-cutting concerns are called as an aspect. AOP will increase the modularity by isolating the secondary logic, okay, from the primary logic. Gives you the encapsulating through separation of module. You can implement aspect by defining the methods in the Java class also. AOP allow you to invoke these methods with the various locations, helps you to avoid writing the same code multiple places, that is the first part, and allows easy removal of the previously defined functionalities also. These are all the AOPs, one of the advantages which we can talk about. So they will be separately, isolatedly, you can run that, and you can avoid the same code, okay, writing the same code multiple places again and again. Allow easy removal of previously defined functionalities also. These are all the things which we can do with your aspect-oriented programming. Now, aspect has logic in each concern in different places, becomes easy to modify, only contain the code, simplify the application structure also. When you are discussing about your AOP, okay, there are certain points, okay, which you need to know. These are the AOPs, some of the few components like advice, joint point, point cut, target, proxy, and VV. These are the different type of your, okay, what you can say, the components which are the part of your AOP. So as a part of your AOP, when we are discussing, we should know that, okay, each and every component, what is that is all about. When you will implement, okay, anyway, we are going to implement a simple classes and how that advice will work, or a joint point or a point cut it is going to work, okay, that we are going to see each definition wise also. Let me talk about that also. Okay, but these are the simple AOP components, okay, which you are going to use, okay, in our programming. Okay, so just we need to know, okay, the definition and what can act as a point cut, or what can act as a joint point, what can act as a say advice, what can act as a proxy and weaving. Okay, so these are the few things what we need to understand over here. All right, let us see that. Let us now implement AOP in a web application also. So AOP solve the problem of cross-cutting concern by allowing you to express these standalone modules, that is aspect, and after identifying the aspect, you need to identify the advice, joint point, and point cuts. These are the components which you need to be, okay, identified, and the aspects are then associated with the target object to create a new proxy object which you need to be created for you to execute that. This is a simple ticket booking which is there. The secondary jobs of the 8 ticket reservation applications are aspects. That is security system, okay, all this. So to implement aspect, you need to perform the following operation: create an advice, define the point cut, and create a proxy. These are the 3 things which you need to be done when you are implementing the your. You can see that, okay, the primary job is to consider as a primary jobs are considered as a target object. The secondary job include authenticating user, checking the seat availability, updating the number of seats, and rewarding the gifts. These are secondary jobs are called your aspect. So this is what we need to remember. So here, okay, that we need to create the advice, we need to create a point cut, and then we need to specify the proxy object when we are implementing the aspect oriented programming. So next we are going to see that, okay, how to implement your AOP in our application. If I want to implement, how do I implement? First, it is nothing but your advice. 3 things we have seen. If you remember, one is advice, point cut, and proxy are the main items which we need to see. First in that, okay, which is advice. Advice, it is an action taken by the aspect at a particular joint point. Is implemented by creating a function. So we need to create a function, okay, which represent the secondary logic of the application logic, whatever you want to write. Maybe that can be a authentication purposes, or maybe updating, maybe a transaction log, any of the method which can act as a your, okay, advice. An application can have more than one advices, and Spring provide different kind of your advices. One is that, okay, before, after returning, and after throwing. These are the different types of your advices which are being provided by the Spring, and we can implement these are the different advices, and we can create our own advice in our program also. Before advice, it is nothing but, okay, this is a method. Before advice is your interface which is there, and before is the method which is there. So when you are writing any particular application, so first of all we need to create an advice. So where the method which will be there, where you are going to write the cross-cutting concerns code also. So that method can be defined as a before or maybe after or any one of the method which we can write. And these methods, if we want to write, we need to implement the appropriate interface. Okay, that is nothing but your method before interface which you need to use. Then only we can override this method called as before method, which will take a method as an object, arguments, object as a target, which will take. And after returning, then we'll have after returning is a method is also there, and after returning advice is an interface which needs to be implemented by that. And this is executed after the join point completes normally, then okay, it will be executed. And the third one, it is nothing but okay, throw advice is also a method. Throw advice after throwing is also a method, and in that okay, throws advice is an interface. So this interface contains a method name after throwing is also a method which is there, which will take an object of type throwable. Throwable is a type of an object, okay, and which is in the part of your after throwing method also. And this method also will contain the code. So these are the methods which will act as a advice and which will contain the code which will be the cross-cutting concerns code. You can say that okay, it is implemented by creating a function, and basically your advice will contain the code which is basically will contain the cross-cutting concerns. So when we are writing our own code also, that time we can see that okay, these codes which will be we need to write okay, within this particular method, and which will make our secondary concerns. The secondary concerns can be a logging, secondary concerns can be a transactions, then can be will be authentication, anything that we can check. Now, a secondary job class is ticket reservation, following function authenticate the user, check availability, update. You can create advices in the following way using the Java class and configure that particular elements also. So I have created here, see, secondary job advice, implement method before advice, after returning advice. You have created this particular Java class, and okay, we have written the before method, and you may write after returning method, and these two methods which will act as the code which will contain the cross-cutting concerns code also, it will be containing that. And this cross-cutting concerns code which will be executed from the primary business logic. But however, that primary business logic, okay, it will be not okay mingle with this. That will be separate one. This will be also a separate one. This one can be called there. So this is the code which has been given here. And whenever we are using, so we can use also this configuration elements also we can use like config, aspect, before, after returning, after throwing AOP around. All these are the things which we can be that in a configuration you can be checking on that. So AOP config, you can say authenticate, then check availability, and after returning update seats. All these are the different type of your advice need to be configured, so that okay, it will be where exactly it has to be executed, in which method it has to be executed, that you can be specified here. This is about your okay advice, where we are writing the secondary concerns and all. Any questions here? Everyone please respond. I want everyone to respond quickly. Okay, these are the okay simple components which we need to know. Okay, how to create that. Okay, I will show you a sample example which I have. Okay, I can just show you how we can do this particular advice. Very simple. Okay, we need to create a poser where you need to write a method and which will act as a advice itself. Only thing that okay, there are some interfaces which are being given. That interfaces we need to implement, and we have to override the method, appropriate method, and we need to write the code actually. Any questions? Okay, so now we have point correct. point cut is after an advice is created, it must be applied to a specific location of the application. That advice must know the location. This is, okay, to do this, point cut is defined. Point cut will be identifying the method where the advice can be applied. This is, okay, in the Spring configuration file we can be specify, and we can refer to the more locations also. You can specify a pattern, okay, it is specified, identify a particular location. You can give the regular expression. Spring provides AOP support, JDK regular expression point cut, which we can be specified for implementing this point cut. And the class has a property named pattern whose value or the attribute specify a particular pattern that refers to the method. You can specify the pattern that is through the wildcard, you can give, or through the dot operator also we can use, by which we can specify what kind of your arguments and all which you want to be specified. You can specify it through this by using the point cut. So this is what we can write: bean ID, like a booking point cut, class org.springframework.aop support, JDK regular expression method point cut, property name pattern, value equal to, as I told you, dot and star are the different type of your symbols which we can use to implement the point cut actually. Point cut is a location where you can write the code. Set your web camera properly. Suman, I think. Suman from Chandigarh. Sorry, Pallavi only. Yeah, tell me now. Unmute your mic.
Hello.
No, you are not audible properly.
Hello. Hello, sir.
Yes.
Point cut is not. What do we mean by that?
No, as I told you that, okay, see, first of all, advice, have you understood? What is advice for? What is advice? Physically, if I want to say. As per, okay, advice is what for us?
So we have to apply it somewhere. We have code. We want to apply.
You are not audible, Pallavi. You are not audible. Ask the TIA to, then we can ask. Okay, you can discuss. Okay then. So here, see, advice is the one class, okay, which is containing the cross-cutting concerns code and everything. The methods which will be contained in that, okay, that will be called your advice. Advice is that, okay, that will be containing the all the related methods, okay, that is which will be having the secondary concerns, that is logging, transactions and everything. That is a class. So Y class is a class, okay, which is containing the secondary concerns, okay, that can be act as advice, where we will be writing the methods. Now this X class, the Y class, actually primary business logic, wherever you have written, where exactly it has to come. Whether it has to come, okay, in a method A, method B or method C, in where you want to execute this secondary concern. Because, okay, that we can specify using the, okay, your point cut. Point cut will tell where you want to execute this advice in my primary business logic. That is what exactly we talk about the point cut. No, definitely I can do, but I will not tell theory again. Okay, so I want to finish it up the theory. Then, okay, we'll take a small demo, simple demo, and you can easily understand. But just to understand what is an advice, what is a point cut. Anyway, okay, with the program, I will define that. So just to have an information. So point cut is that case. So this is my point cut. Okay, the point cut will contain the information where exactly you want to keep that your advice, that it will be specified here. And you can all have to define which advices need to be applied to what, okay, that point cut. To do this, create advisor that link the advices with the point cut. So you will have default point cut advisor that will create an advisor and by which you can specify that, okay, which point, what advisor, okay, to which, okay, point cut it has to be associated to. Then bean ID, it is nothing but secondary job. Class is this, okay, default cut advisor, property name advice, secondary job advice, property name point cut, booking point cut. So this is what you can be specified, that which, okay, point, which particular point cut in which secondary job it has to be associated, you can be specified with that. You can give your point cut as a regular expression also, you can be set with that. This is how it will be looking like. So this is all about the few things about the point cut and all what we have been discussed. Once you have done that, okay, then you need to create a proxy. To create a proxy, call the advisor, intercept the calling of the object. A proxy is advisors, okay, among the advisors, target object and joint cut or point cut. It creates a bean with the application context file, and to create a bean we have to use the proxy factory bean class which we need to use, by which we can create the proxy class and we can execute it also. And we can create the bean ID, that is a proxy object which we can create, and we can specify that, okay, which one is the target object we can be specified here. So these are the way how you can implement, and then we can execute. Let us will see a small demo and implementing this. What from Pallavi, can you please type again, because I am not getting the first. New project, okay, we are going to create a Java web application. Chapter 4 I am defining, that is AOP. Bring MVC. I'll take a small demo which I have created. I'll just implement that demo over here. We'll create a simple AOP implementation, create a web project using Spring, create a business class which will act as a target object. See that. This is what your target object. This class will be a simple Java class which will contain actual business logic, and before this any cross-cutting concern method going to be executed. Okay, so this is what we talk about, a simple business class I am creating. In our case, okay, I am creating a ticket booking class. Okay, ticket booking class which is there, that I am going to write in a package called as business. I am writing that. Okay, fine. Now we are implementing that. So I'll create a business class, simple Java class, okay, which will be ticket booking. Ticket booking is a class which we want to represent, and this particular class will specify the methods, whatever it is there. Ticket booking. Now, what is the method which we want to use? That is nothing but your business is the method which you are going to use. See to this. Now this is going to be the target object. This is my ticket booking class. In my business package it is there. You will write the method, okay, for the primary business logic method you are going to write, that is for the booking. Okay, the string, the name, okay, the passenger name and the flight number, and this is a business method, and the flight number, if it is F1001, the passenger name it has to be print, else it has to throw the flight exception. This is a simple one which you need to write. Then flight exception is an exception which you need to be created. Okay, so that is anyway we'll do that. That is a target object. Okay, then we have simple user defined exception class we need to create in the business class only, that is called your flight exception. So let me do that also. New Java class. The package, that is nothing but your business. Package business. So this is the ticket booking which we have created now. Okay, now we have implemented. And if you want to use override annotation, which we can use. So these are the two things. Next, what we need to do. So create a service class called as log. Okay, before ticket. This is a service class. Is also a simple Java Purjo class, which has implemented method before advice interface, and this class will be executed before the business logic method, which can act as a your simple advice. Okay, so this is a simple advice class, we can say. So that is what we are implementing method before advice. But we have different other interfaces are there after returning. That is also there. But we may not require that. We may require only this particular method which need to be executed for us, because our application may not require that. So that is what we need to take about. And this is service method. So hence what I will implement is I will create a log before ticket is the code which we need to be specified. Log before ticket. You can create that. And here this is a service package which you are going to use. Service package. That is why you have the service method which we are talking about. So this is we have service. The log before ticket, which is implements the method before advice, is interface which we are been implementing, and before is the method. Then which we are passing the method object, and the next object which we are passing. And this is what the sample code which we have written over here. Next, we have to create a client. We need to create a client. That will execute the business logic. You can see. Simple. So we can write that this redirect.jsfhs page where we want to write that particular code also. So let us will see that. What I am trying to do this. So what I am trying to implement. Let us will see that. So first I am going to create. First, I am going to create a target object. That is what we have created called as business ticket booking. Target is equal to ticket booking. So that is a target object. Advice which we have created, that is log before ticket, because this is the cross-cutting concerns what you have been written. And this is the proxy object we want to create. That is what we are executing. This is an existing proxy object we are executing, and we can use this also. So this is a code which we need to write within your redirect.jsp page. Within the redirect.jsp page, we can write this particular code also. That's it. That is a simple one. What I have implemented so far. All right, there. So this is the few things what we can implement, and then we can run that particular project. Okay, that is what we is going to run. Redirect.jsp page. Actually, fine. Proxy factory bean, okay, new of proxy factory bean which we need to implement, OB3 set target and OB3 set advice. These are the, in the proxy object we need to set the two values. One is that, okay, set target object which is there, that is for your ticket booking, and add advice method which is there, that is to, okay, go for the advice. See, in case of your, if I talk about ticket booking, okay, when you are implementing the ticket booking, there we have not written, this is the main business logic where I am not writing any code within this. Before that, okay, there is a certain advice, it has to be executed, we have not written like that. Only thing that, okay, in the main code, when you are calling that particular method, that time only we will specifying that my target object is this, and for this particular proxy object, we will have the advice. And this advice, it is going to be executed before the your target runs. That is your log, okay, which is going to run, because here in my case, okay, we have written log before. Before the method it will execute, this time, okay, which will be executed that. Give me a minute. A log before ticket, that is what we need to specify that. Give me a moment. I'll just check. There might be a small error we have done. No, no, no. Let me, because that is method before advice. OB3. Let me run. Okay, let me check. No, it is coming, but okay, it is only showing the error, but it is not an error. Okay, so please check this. If you see that, okay, it is executing properly. If you want, okay, me to refresh that, okay, you can just clear it, and again we can execute also for you. Run that. Just check the Glassfish server, because in the Glassfish server it is going to execute. See, first what it will happen, method before business logic implementation, that is what it is coming. Checking the seat availability, this is the main business logic which is going to execute. It is a business method, the seat availability method, and passenger name is Harish and flight number is F0001. Okay, so this is what we can be implementing. A simple AOP implementation program also we can do. So there is no problem. No, it is coming. It actually there is no error actually, because advice is a method before advice is an interface, and which is extending from the advice interface only directly. So that is why it will execute. There is no problem. So please execute that. Okay, ignoring the error. So there will no error. Okay, it will execute perfectly, and you can check that also. Okay, so this is the output which is going to come. So you can see that okay, log before here, method before business logic implementation, checking the seat availability. This is the first thing which is going to be executed, because this will be the one which comes with your advice. Then it is a business method. Where exactly this is executing? In the ticket booking. It is a business method. Then okay, because it is F1001, if it is there, then it will display that okay, it is the passenger name is Harish and flight number is something. That is what it is going to execute. But however, please remember one thing here. I never written the business logic code. That is this cross concern code. It has to be executed before the ticket booking. There I have not written. It is the proxy object work which has taken care of that. So here you have written that. OB3 set target object is target. Proxy factory bean, it is nothing but an inbuilt bean, inbuilt class which is there, which we are using. This is the classes which we have created. Okay, ticket booking class, which is the main target object or the business class, and service log before ticket, which is an advice. Okay, that we have set, and proxy object which you have created, and we have specified that okay, where exactly it has to be executed. The point cut here we have specified that, and then okay, we are calling the get object, and then ticket booking object we have got, and once we have got the ticket booking object, then we are calling the booking. So that time you will see that okay, the advice method automatically gets executed. So whatever the advice method was there before method, okay, so that before method it gets executed. So that is what okay, how you can implement AOP. In AOP, your objective is to execute an application before okay, your business logic it has to run, or maybe after that okay, it has to run. But it is not okay. The class you will see they are both are separate, isolated class. If you see that ticket booking class, is it okay? This particular class, is that any idea about that? Okay, there is an cross-cutting concern which is going to run in this particular class. It doesn't know that. Is it log before ticket class? It is knows that okay, which particular business method I need to execute before that. It doesn't know that. They both are isolated, but through the proxy object it is going to be executed. So that is what your AOP says. Cross-cutting concerns should be separated and it has to be executed. That is how we need to be implemented your AOP. This is a simple example you take okay, and try to execute first. Okay, so that okay, you can easily understand how exactly your AOP works. Is it clear now, or any questions? Five minutes. So we'll take a 5-minute break, okay, and I will add to you. Okay, so in between that, okay, you can have any question you can take. Give me 5 minutes of break. Welcome back. Any questions from this particular example? If you want to ask me, you can ask about the AOP, which we have been discussed. A sample, very simple example which I have told you, like ticket booking. One is that, okay, the main business logic target object. One is that, okay, log before ticket, which will act as a advice, okay, where you can write the before method. But if you want to write even other methods also, you can write before method before advice, after returning, whatever that, okay, you want to execute before the business logic or after the business logic, that you can be specified here. And okay, then we have an exception class we have written for the ticket booking class. If you have any exception, then you can raise that. And that is all. Okay, then we have gone to the redirected the Jsfhs page where we have written the code for implementing a target object, create an advice, create a proxy object, and then we have executed the same. That's a simple one which we have been implemented as part of your AOP it is concerned. Alright, any questions? I want everyone to respond. Any questions? If it is there, you can ask. So will you be able to do now this AOP program? AOP program, will you able to do now? Very simple program. Please acknowledge. No, it is not mandatory that, okay, that is where exactly you want to execute. Here I have used the proxy object where we have specified the target object and the advice. Both have been kept, not used. Okay, directly I said. Otherwise, we can execute even with a through the XML values also we can specify which target where exactly we need to execute also we can specify. But through the proxy object only we have specified that. Any other questions? So this is what. So this is your implementing the chapter 4, that is nothing but your AOP implementation that we have been discussed actually. And actually we have one more chapter which is nothing but your Jsfhs, that is your chapter 5, where we are talking about in the chapter 5 integrating the Spring with your business and presentation layer. That means, okay, we are going to implement here the Hibernate, okay, that is to the Hibernate and your Jsfhs. If you want to integrate, how we can integrate that we are going to talk about in this, because presentation layer in the sense, okay, that is nothing but your implementing the Jsfhs. And if you want to go for your model component and all, then we can go for your Hibernate. So that is what you are integrating, that we can see through the chapter number 5, where we talk about the Spring with the business and the presentation layer is all about. So that is a few things which is there. Okay then. Any questions? So now we'll move down to the next part, that is nothing but your chapter 5. Okay, the chapter 5 which is nothing but your integrating Spring with the business and the presentation layer. How we can implement that, okay, that we are going to see. So in this particular session we are going to discuss about the integrating the Spring with the Jsfhs or integrating Spring with a Hibernate. How to do that we are going to discuss actually. That's the basic objective in this particular session. And let us see that, okay, what are the few things which are there. Okay, the integrating Spring with a Jsfhs framework also it is asking. The presentation layer of the web application consisting of like a UI page and a form page. The UI enables user to interact with the application. And the Jsfhs framework helps to create the UI with the help of various built-in UI components also. And this will provide the built-in support for converting and validating the data. JSF, and navigation and event handling mechanism and all, okay, that we can do using your JSF framework. And this is best suited to create a presentation layer. And there, as you know that, okay, everyone, JSF is used for creating the presentation layer is all about. After creating the presentation layer, you need to implement the business logic. So the business logic, if you want to implement, managing the interaction between your presentation and database layer. Transaction, security, other services of the application need to be implemented in the business layer. Jsfhs gives us the managed bean concept. We have implemented the managed bean to accept the value from the UI, implementing the event handlers, implementing the business logic of the application we used to use, by which, okay, we implement the business logic, some part of the business logic which we are able to handle by using the JSF managed bean. But however, if you want to use, okay, the implementation in case of your Spring, then Spring Bean implementation which you have to do. So JSF managed bean complexities like scattering the code, difficulty in testing, tightly coupled code, it is there. So the code to implement the primary concerns of an application get, okay, entangled with the code to implement the system services. To overcome this complexity, you can implement Spring framework in the business layer to provide the benefit like loose coupling and modularizing the secondary concerns of an application if you want to do. Then we can use the Spring based application instead of writing the managed bean concept also. So now this will be like this. So you will have the faces servlet, as you know that, okay, this is the main component of your JSF. And we have UI component, then we have bean, we have validator converters, resource bundle, and view on Jsfhs which are there. And it will be integrating with your business layer, that is Spring, where you have service bean, business object, Hibernate integration. If you have any kind of your declarative transaction management, bean management can also be done using your business layer services, that is about your Spring also. So that, okay, integration between the JSF and to your Spring, that we can do over here in this case. So if you want to do, then how we can implement, what are the ways by which we can implement, let us will talk about. So to integrate both Spring and JSF use, okay, beans to implement the business logic. There is a difference in the way. The Spring beans are defined as Spring's application context file, and the JSF managed bean are defined in the faces-config.xml file. So when you are integrating Spring and JSF, you need to provide the way to which the JSF page can access the Spring bean defined in the Spring's application context. The process of searching the bean definition configuration file will be the resolving that particular bean itself. So JSF configuration file, that is, okay, JSF configuration file, it is nothing but your faces-config.xml file which is there. That will be the responsible for exposing the managed bean of the UI application. Managed bean are the simple Java classes. You can define that, okay, JSF configuration file in the faces-config, and managed bean can be accessible the UI component in the using the EL also. But okay, this is what we already know that, okay, how they are accessing, resolving the bean and all. And we are writing either the managed bean class, or if you are not writing here, then okay, we need to use the annotation and we can be specifying that. This already we have. Now when you are adding the Spring framework to the JSF application, when you are incorporating the Spring application, Spring bean are accessed throughout the application context.xml. So when you add a Spring framework in JSF application, provide the mapping of application context XML file in web.xml file also. So that time in web.xml file, you need to specify that, okay, which application context file which you are using, that we need to be specified here. So if you remember that, okay, we have given the context location, and you're in context param, you can specify the application context.xml file which you need to be specified when you are integrating your JSF to the Spring based application when you are developing. Then we can use this particular example and we can integrate also. So that is the basic objective how we can do for integrating the JSF with the Spring based application when you are implementing also. So other than that, okay, that is same. Resolving the Spring Beans. The process of calling the Spring Beans into the JSF environment is called resolving bean. So when you execute this, automatically search the faces-config.xml file for the required bean. To help JSF page to find the required bean directly from the Spring application, the bean variable resolver is used. So the bean variable resolver is declared in the faces-config.xml file. So you need to know that, okay, what are the steps I need to follow, okay, to implement or my Spring Bean into JSF if I want to call, how I can do. So JSF, okay, the managed bean if you want to work, so it has to go to the application context.xml. So application context.xml file which will contain the information about the web.xml, and in the faces-config.xml file which will contain the bean resolver information what it will be containing in this faces-config.xml file also. Any questions? Any questions? Okay, so this is about a sample example which I am talking about how we can resolve the Spring, okay, the JSF into the Spring that we have seen. To call the Spring Beans declared in the Spring application context, we can go for this. org.springframework.web.jsf.delegating variable resolver class, we can be using that. By registering the delegating variable resolve, we can refer the bean declared in the Spring from the JSF pages. The same bean now can be managed by two different containers. JSF can manage, Spring can contain. It is a good practice to declare a bean in a Spring application context instead of declaring that in the faces-config.xml file. You must remove the managed bean declaration from the JSF configuration file and provide the bean declaration for the Spring application context file also. That we need to take care. So bean ID, JSF bean class, JSF managed bean, scope is equal to request. This is the way you can create a bean and we can implement that. That is how we can implement the JSF managed bean. If I want to implement, we can implement this way. So we can create a the bean declaration in your application context, and in your faces-config.xml, we need to specify the bean variable, okay, resolver also we need to be specified, and in web.xml file, okay, we need to specify the application context.xml file informations also. That is the way by which, okay, JSF can be integrated with your Spring. Okay, that is what the way how you can integrate the JSF with the Spring also. Any questions? Any questions? I want everyone to respond. Quickly you can tell, okay, this is a sample code which we okay, some of the snippets which we have seen, how to resolve the application, okay, that is from Spring to Java if they want to implement, Spring to JSF if I want to implement, how do I implement that we have been discussed. Any questions so far? So integrating Spring with the presentation layer we have seen. Now integrating with your, okay, that is your business layer with your Hibernate, how we can implement, that's we are going to discuss actually. So this is also the part of what we are going to discuss. So where the presentation layer, not only presentation layer, even ORM tool, that is your say Hibernate applications also if you want to implement, then we can be also implementing that. That's a few things what we can talk about. All right. Any questions now? Now, I'll not complete, okay, this few things about the Hibernate and all. So we'll see that, okay, Hibernate in tomorrow's class, that is the database layer class, that is what is in a Hibernate, how we can implement the Hibernate in your Spring, That's the few things what we are going to discuss tomorrow. Okay, sample things which we are going to discuss, okay, about the Hibernate and how to implement the Hibernate, integrate the Spring with your Hibernate, that we are going to discuss tomorrow. So the ORM tool, maybe JPA or the Hibernate, if they want to be integrated with the Spring, then how do they integrate? Okay, that we are going to discuss also. So this is tomorrow's discussion. It will be more on that. Okay, so today we have discussed about how we can have Jsfs integrated with your Spring, that we have been discussed now. All right. So that's a few things what we have discussed today, and a little bit of demos which we have created. We have created about a sample Spring-based application. We have also discussed about something called as your AutoWire features and all, how to implement that we have been seen. And we have also discussed about your AOP based implementation program. If you want to do, how do I do that? Okay, AOP based implementation programs also. These are the few things what we have been discussed. So tomorrow we will be discussing about integration Jsfs with the Spring, how to do. We have been discussed here today. Now tomorrow integrating with Hibernate, and the last one, the topic that is nothing but your transaction, which is there, which was very same, like how we have been discussed about your transaction in my implementation, that is in the Hibernate. Similar way we are going to do the transaction in case of your Spring-based applications also. That will be the part, that is the 6th chapter which we can talk about. So that is okay, few things what we are going to discuss. So we can complete that these chapters with a very fast. Okay, then we can, okay, so good to go for some discussion points, and then we can, okay, close the session by tomorrow. All right. Fine. So I'll upload these particular demos in the Spring. So please go through that. Okay, please study the whole your Spring-based implementation and everything. Okay, go through the different websites also, so that okay, you will have an idea that okay, how we can create the Spring-based applications also. All right. So that's the things from my side. Okay, so we'll stop it over here. We'll meet tomorrow at 11 o'clock only. Okay, so and we'll be okay, discussing about the Spring application in detail. Meet us 11 o'clock tomorrow. Kindly check.